Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Welcome back to another edition of Dogging It. It's the last day of the Mosconi Cup, and I'm riding solo today. Well, I guess whoever's out there watching with me, let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me and see me all right. Shout out to our Mosconi Cup week sponsors in Albert Trujillo at Fort Worth Billiards. Check out billiardsuperstore.com for all your supply needs. Big supporter of the show, big supporter of pool in general. He's a good guy, and we couldn't do it without him. I see the thumbs up in the chat, Catherine. It's good to see you. Kind of caught me off guard there. Hey, so it's the last day of the Mosconi Cup, and lineups just came out a little bit ago. We're gonna bring those up here shortly. I'm just hanging out with you guys, so whatever questions you guys have, put them in the chat. I know. Let me see if I can bring the chat on screen here for a second, and we'll be hanging out, just the 50 of us or so that's hanging out. So let me know any questions in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them best to my ability. Let me bring up the lineups. They got 4 matches scheduled so far for today. Let me see if I can swing these on in. I might have to turn off the chat just for this one, but I'll still be able to see y'all's questions. So make sure and keep them coming for me. So it's a heavy dose of the killer to start off the last day. No surprise there for me. Just looking at the way that everything was shaping up, you knew they were going to go heavy early and often, just because I think they want to get it over with, and they know that Josh is the guy to do so. If Josh, I think if Josh wins his 2 matches, then he will get MVP. If, let's say, Josh were to split one, and then if they close it out in match number 4, then I think Shaw were to get the MVP. If I read the wins and losses correct, I might be mistaken there. So, but we shall see. If Josh wins these first 2, then not only is he going to win 40,000, it's 40,000 a man. He's also going to get MVP again, like I mentioned. And what better way to do it? You know, you're up in match number 1 on the last day of the Mosconi Cup, and in Mosconi Cup fashion, you got SVB on the other side. I don't know what Shane we're gonna get today. I don't know what optimism you guys have in the chat. I didn't see a whole lot of him yesterday, which was kind of odd. It wasn't until like the very end of the day, even though he wasn't playing. I don't know if he was out there or just kind of hanging out in the wings or more in the practice room. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you, but either way, he's out today. He's the end cap for the matches that you see on deck right now, the first and the last one. So a lot of talk over the last few days, what players they should have picked, how the lineup's been. I will say that the team does have a lot of input into the lineup. Sky especially has a heavy hand in it as far as just his opinion. I know Jeremy respects it quite a bit, and they do deliberate about it quite often. So, but nevertheless, I mean, you got Sky and Tyler in match number 2 going up against Josh and Albin, and I know it's not the maybe the Albin that we've seen, but he's been pretty solid throughout this Mosconi Cup. We know what Josh has done, only dropping 1 doubles match over the course of the event. Sky looked decent at times. He's playing loose. Tyler's a little bit more to form and vary about the process. MVP gets 1 point for a singles win, half a point for a doubles win, is what Darren says. So explain that to me, Darren, if you can. I see the comment in the chat. Let me see if I can highlight it a little bit. Nope, I cannot highlight it. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that necessarily means, half a point or a point. So I'd have to go back and look and see how it weighs out. Then that would think, I guess Jason would then be in a better position, but Josh is playing another singles right now. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. In match number 3, you got Wolford versus David, and this for me is where I get, kind of this is where I got issue with the format. So I'm guessing Josh leading. He won 2 singles, means 2 points is what Darren says. Okay, yeah. I was just going more by overall wins, but if it's weighted like that, then for sure that's going to be a bit different. But yeah, looking at this match number 3, Wolford versus David, you could very well have a Mosconi Cup win without Wolford having played a singles, and David for that matter. That for me, and I'm not making excuses for the USA. I mean, I think they would have lost regardless, but just as far as a competitive standpoint and having it be more of a team type aspect, I would have hoped that the players would have been able to at least play a singles and get a chance. And Wolford and David may not get that opportunity, and especially Wolford because it's his very first one after all, like in life. So they both lost one doubles, but Filler played a singles and Jason only one. Yeah. So um, we'll see how it matches up. I don't think we get past four. To be honest with you, I'm not too optimistic they get past two with Josh hanging out right there, waiting for him on deck. It's a tough mountain to overcome. And we just know his Mosconi Cup pedigree. He's playing three out of the first four. And there's just nothing that says that SVB is going to be in any kind of mindset to overcome that. And when you're on the hill and you got Filler right there, and then you got Tyler, it's kind of poetic because they met, I think, last year in the last point playing singles at the Mosconi Cup, and here they are again for a possibility. So um, looking at some of the comments in the chat, lots of questions. I appreciate all you guys for hanging out with me today. We got another 20 more minutes before the kickoff starts. I'm not sure if I'll be able to hang out here for another 20 more minutes, but we'll do the best that we can. If by some magical way the Americans pull off, winning three out of these four, then we'll have another round of matches that will be placed online. I'm guessing on social media, communicated with everyone before they would continue play. It'll just be, I think, a majority of singles from there on out. And I mean, look, it's 9-2. I don't see any way that we can overcome this. Not with that level of talent that's on there. You had to be within striking distance by today, and I think that would have been best case scenario if you were the Americans, keeping it somewhat close. But as we saw from the beginning, it's never been the case. So you guys can check out the action on DAZN if you're in the US, also on Sky Sports if you're out there in the UK. I'm curious what everybody thinks about the Federer being out there, or not being out there today, but just in general. What's everyone's thoughts on how he performed in his first American Mosconi Cup? Lots of optimism leading into it, and I'm just curious, what's the sentiment like now, it being the last day? So yeah, I see some other comments about some other guests we've had on. I try to get some Americans on today. Didn't hear back from Matchroom, so we're just continuing it on. It's pretty par for the course, but they've been super helpful throughout this, and we couldn't have gotten on some of our guests without them. It's a fun time of year. You have all these players and all these former players and captains, and everyone seems to have an opinion, and some are more weighted than others. But there's a lot of experience, and you can tell there's a lot of pride. And even the guys who have been in that fraternity before, they take a certain amount of pride in the way that their team goes out there and performs. And you see it from guys like Darren and a few others that make comments online, and I mean they want them to win and win pretty convincingly. So I think the Americans are just outgunned. Seeing some posts online from Emily today on social media, showing Efren. I'm curious if and when we're going to get the announcement of the Reyes Cup. I think it's just a perfect time for her to introduce it, especially given the lopsided victory that we had today. I mean, this isn't competitive. It hasn't been competitive, and so we got to do something to kind of shake it up. The Moscone Cup will always be something special, and there'll always be a place for it. They're going to be playing last year, but I'm sorry, next year. But yeah, it's time to bring in some new blood. Jake, I see your comment. We've had Mike DeShane on the show before, but to be honest with you, Mike hasn't really done anything to make himself part of the conversation. And he's not very well liked amongst any of these American fans. He can be kind of an ass at times. He's been great with me, but I don't want to just have guys on for the sake of having them on because they've been there before. We had Johan on because him and Laylee had some public comments about it. I reached out to Darren, I think it was a day or two ago, to come on. And it's because Darren's had a very public opinion about it, making himself part of the conversation, and of course, their pedigree over the course of this event. So we shall see if we can get others, and I'm sure we'll have more on the recap side of it. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? So um, let me know any other questions you guys may have for me in the chat. I'm excited for the singles though. If SVB can somehow, some way overcome Josh, I think it's still going to be a little too late. But it's just good morale. So will you show the matches? Yeah, no. We're not going to be streaming any matches on here. You'll have to pay for that. um, but based off of these four matches, let me know in the comments who you guys think how these four are going to go. If USA can even eke out a win out of the first two, or will it be 2-0 and Europe's going to get their 40,000? One thing that I've really appreciated from Matchroom is the fact that they've been increasing the prize money. You got 40,000 per man, 20,000 per losing man, and so kudos to those players for going out there and getting a piece of it. Yeah, I see some other comments in there about Sky Sports being free. Look, I've always paid for cable in one way or another, so I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Go support the sport is what I would tell you guys. And um, it's it doesn't cost you a whole lot, and I don't know anybody's finances, obviously, but if you guys can't, all this, everything that goes into it, is obviously getting trickled down to the players in some form. If not, then the prize money wouldn't have gone up over the last few years. So, don't just talk about being a fan of the sport. Go out there and put your dollars towards it, because it goes it goes a long way for everyone. I'm hoping they will continue to make this bigger and better. With a lopsided score line like we have today, I'm not so sure if how the American fans will show up next year. There's got to be some mix up though. You can't go out there with the same team, the same group of six guys, and expect some kind of different result. Something just has to change. So, uh, I joked around a little bit, but I said over after day, I think number two, I said let's just see if we can buy out and flip the coin again, and I think that would have made it a little bit easier. But yeah, it's a bit rough, and it's been a bit rough. It's been a little, I leave my fandom at the door, and I'm friends with a lot of guys on both teams. I just love seeing competitive pool, but seeing stuff like this kind of makes me cringe at times. Going out there and seeing guys get embarrassed or lopsided score lines, 5-0s, and it's not so much the antics that bother me, because that part I actually enjoy. I want these guys to be more showman. I think it gets the crowd more fired up. But just seeing these guys lose in that manner, and they're kind of hung out to dry out there to just kind of take it. That's when it gets a little tough. A little tough for me. So, but kudos to the Americans. They won one yesterday, I think. They had the celebratory beer. I'd imagine there'll probably be more alcohol involved at some point tonight. But I wish I wish I could say I think it's going to go the distance, but I think it's going to be a real early day. And the Americans just put themselves in that position. You got 5 world champions or 4 world champions, and David. I'm not sure if David's won a world championship or not, but you got roughly 4 world champions out there on Team Europe, and you got one. Actually, you got 2 on the Americans, and one of the 2 was actually a rookie on this stage. So. It was always going to be a tall order. I expected a little better result from them, from the red, white, and blue. But what are you going to do, man? I mean, what are you guys going to do? So uh, go out there, have some fun, give them hell, and let's see if you can make some kind of a game of it. I don't know what that number would be in order to put the Europeans on any kind of tilt or pressure. I haven't seen any pressure being put on them since day one. You haven't seen them face any kind of adversity whatsoever. So that was the only way the Americans were going to be able to tilt them, and so but it just what meant to be, what meant to be. So uh, anyhow, look, I'm gonna let you guys go. We got about 10 minutes till kickoff. I want to shout out again our sponsors, Fort Worth Billiards, for the support throughout the week. We will have another show this evening, kind of recapping everything. Hopefully, it's going to be a late night. But thanks to Franco, thanks to Alberto. Check out DAZN if you're in the U.S. in order to watch the Mosconi Cup. And yeah, hopefully we can at least make it to see Wolford play a singles. That I do want to see. I want to see what the kid's got out there all by himself. So he's had some positive things come out of this Mosconi Cup, good bright moments, some not so bright moments, but I want to at least see him get a chance. It's the only thing that's fair. So anyhow, thanks everybody for hanging out with us, and see you guys soon. Go enjoy the Mosconi Cup.